All right, so before I start this video or the story that you saw in the title, I think I'm gonna tell you why I think I should share this story. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing. Crying at work is always embarrassing, but this is not the first time this happened to me. And on the other hand, I'm thinking like, somebody stirred me so much that I had to cry, so it impacted me in some way. It's not that I'm crying every day, not at all. But if that happens at work, I'm always super embarrassed, and my brain tells me and my understanding tells me something went wrong if I started to cry. And oftentimes, I would say most of the times, it is not coming from me. It's not my fault. It's nothing I did. So yeah, that's the first thing I want to tell you. If you ever cried somewhere, you're uncomfortable about it, no matter if it's work or somewhere else, try to not be uncomfortable about it, or at least try not to beat you up. I know it's hard. All right, so let's go to the story and I tell you what happened. So I applied for a job in my own company, and it was kind of a stretch. So I was not expecting to get that job, but there were some good points in my resume that would make me an applicant, I would say, that you could look at. So obviously, if you have like 100 applicants, you cannot go through everything in detail. That's all clear. And as I said, I actually did never expect to get that job. So what happened after a while, I texted the HR person and said, hey, are you already looking? Are you already doing interviews? The answer I got from the HR lady was, oh, you're not on our shortlist because we need someone with a technical background. So I was a little bit confused because I have 4 technical degrees, which I think is quite a bit, but whatever. So I thought, okay, she can't be seriously saying I don't have a technical background. So I texted her back and said, well, I do have a technical background. In fact, I have 4 degrees in engineering of several kinds. And then I opened my CV, made a screenshot of my CV, and basically highlighted what these technical degrees are so she could easily find it. So obviously she never opened the CV that I sent her, and yeah, I was quite disappointed, but at that moment it was clear I wouldn't get the job because this lady probably has to stick to her story, and yeah, so I let it go at that point. I was clear, I'm not getting this job. I don't really know what happened in the background, but obviously if somebody asked me about it, I said, yeah, they sorted me out because I don't have a technical degree, although I have 4. And so that's the whole story of my application for this job. So because I said that like that, which is all the truth that I have from my side, they came back to me and were trying to be more specific and basically stick to their story. Said, yeah, very specific technical things had to be in the CV, and you also did not do any technical things in the last few years. You did finance, and then so they kind of went down that rat hole like, oh, our first point was the way to go. What upset me so much is that it was very clear that they didn't do their work. It was just not, they didn't even open the CV. And they turned around and blamed on me that I was not qualified. I did a lot of research about that job, so I'm very confident I would have done a good job. And it's not that I'm saying I have to get this one. Sure, there are better people than I am for this job. I'm sure there are. Also, if you apply, it's never that you have to get the job, right? It's more like a 80-20 chance. It depends on what you apply to, right? In this case, it was probably either a 90% no and 10% yes chance, but not opening my CV made it 100% no right from the start. And that was what I was not so happy with. But again, I was already letting it go at that point. And then they kept coming back to me, telling me how I was not qualified, even after the decision was made. That was weeks after. So out of the blue, without having an appointment or something, the lady called me and said, basically, you just don't fit. You just don't fit. And I'm like, yeah, okay, it's fine. Just leave me alone. And she kept pounding that, like, you do not have the right qualification. You do not have, and I mean, I didn't even listen to her anymore, but that's where the tears came out. Yeah, and this pounding on me just didn't feel good. So after I was hanging up, I was wondering, why did that impact me so much? Why was that so bad for me? Because something got triggered, right? It's not, I already did not think about the job anymore. Like for weeks, I was done with this topic at all. In fact, in the meanwhile, I had applied to another job and I have been taken. So I was picked, or whatever you want to apply as words. So I was really wondering, like, why did that impact me so much? Why did I cry because of that? I could have sit there and thinking like, oh, I got a new job. I don't even need this one anymore that you did not offer me. So it was really weird. So here's the one thing that I think is for sure. They crossed my boundaries. They did something that was not okay. They went very personal, and they, I don't know what the right word is. They picked on my CV and myself like they should not have. They could have as easily said, we picked someone who was better qualified or who has more experience, full stop. That could have been it, right? But turning around and basically saying, you don't have engineering background, which I have, so they lied to me. Oh, okay, you have engineering background. It's not enough. It's not specific enough. It was not recent enough. So all these things were feeling like they're blaming me. And the other thing is, it's just not true. I probably would have done a good job. So although I didn't want to have this conversation and the topic was over, they kind of pressed this conversation on me, which already felt like crossing a boundary. So they didn't ask, like, do you want to talk about it again or anything like that? Nothing. They called me and they said, I didn't even know why. So I picked up the phone. They're like, hey, this is what we want to tell you. And that was kind of rude to begin with, like very pressing. And they just wanted to have that topic off the table, whatever the topic is, I don't even know. Because like I said, the job was handed to someone else. So, but all this pushing was really ugly, and all the picking on me was really ugly, and I did not like it. Then they started, once they saw me starting to cry, they started to make interpretations of why I am crying. They're like, oh, you love the technical stuff, right? You want to do this. You want to go back in R&D. You want to, and which was absolutely not the case, because I cried because at that point I wasn't even sure why I was crying. For sure I was crying because they crossed my boundaries, and the other thing is that I felt like a pressure to not tell them what I'm really thinking. I probably should have. I don't know. I never know what to do in these situations, because I was very clear in my thoughts. Like, okay, you didn't do your job. Now you're trying to fix this by picking on me and trying to turn the story around. I do not believe you. I'm not saying I believe you, or I just said it's okay, let go away, kind of. But they didn't. So yeah, the question is, what did I learn from this? I mean, I could just say that doesn't matter at all and it's gone, but I was so interested really in why I cried. Like, why? And I really wanted to know. So I journaled about this like 2 or 3 times in the meanwhile. And I hated always when people cross my boundaries. I got a lot better in the last years to push back and say, no, this is not okay. Please stop that. Or I just leave the situation. So I'm really good at that. In this situation with HR of your own company, it's kind of like a power inequality, because they kind of make decisions in the background for you. Like in this case, right? They made a decision before I could even, they made a decision about me, and I should be fearless in this case, because it's not okay. Just because they're HR, I should still be able to criticize them and tell them what I think. And in this case, I was clearly thinking they did not do their job. They didn't even open the CV. And I'm saying, I'm pretty sure if you are having a job offer out, somebody applies, opening the CV and take the 3 to 5 minutes to go through it, that is what you should do. So somebody didn't do his job. So I know a couple of people might say now, oh, you can absolutely sue them or whatever, walk in that direction, saying you have not been considered in the right way, which I haven't. I mean, it was unfair. I never got a real chance, and life is not fair. That's my standpoint. You're not always getting fair chances in life, and it's not okay for me, but that is how it is. So it's kind of okay for me. But the other thing is, I don't want to be in a place where I'm not wanted. So even if there was a way to push myself into this position or in this area with some kind of arguments like, look, I have all the qualification I need and you still didn't consider me, I don't want to push myself into this, because if you're not wanted in a place, then you just shouldn't be there. It will not be lovely or pleasant or anything like that. That's true for a job as well as for a relationship. If you are in a place where people do not want you, you can get into these places. You can push yourself there by suing, by talking, by pretending, by whatever, but you will not be happy there. So the other thing that you absolutely should do, or should not do, that's the better wording, is if people come to you and tell you who you are or who you not are, in this case, you know best who you are and what you can do and all these kinds of things. So nobody should be allowed to do it. A lot of people will do it, no matter if you ask them or not. They will come and tell you, oh, you can do this or you cannot do this and this. Like in this case, they were telling me I am not able to do this job, which I would have been, no question about that. And the very important thing is that you don't let it get to you. Like, what are you thinking about yourself? Are you sitting there thinking, they're right, I cannot do the job, or I cannot do whatever somebody told me I cannot do? Or are you saying, okay, they didn't look at it in the right way, they have no idea what they're talking about. Well, look, I'm with me, with myself for 35 years now, every single second of my life. And they did not take the 3 to 5 minutes to open my CV. So who can judge me better? I think that's pretty clear. So yeah, the other thing is, now that I'm looking back, do I regret that I applied for this job? Because I could have just done nothing, right? I could have just looked at the job saying, oh, it's a stretch, I probably won't get it. I mean, it was like a 90% chance I don't get it. Should I probably not have invested all the work that I put in my application, in the research about that job? Should I just not do that? No, I will absolutely keep doing these things, because I exposed myself to, let's call it a bad situation, a challenging situation, and just working through this, like thinking about what that means to me and why it impacted me so much. This was such a good exercise for myself. I really liked that. I mean, not like in a positive way, but now that I'm sitting here kind of summarizing it, I'm like, that was good to experience that, because the next time somebody shows up and starts talking to me like that, I'll probably have better answers. So this was a little story time. I hope it helped you a little bit. That's kind of my hope why I put it out here, because these things are not just happening to me. These things are happening to a lot of people, and a lot of people feel really bad about it. Most people probably managed not to cry, but I didn't. And I just hope to give you some courage and to show you life is not perfect, and learn out of it. If whatever you can take away from the situation, try to do that. People are not perfect. I learned that. And people are rude, and people are crossing your boundaries, and people think they can judge you, and it's crazy. It's a crazy world out there, and you have to protect yourself and your kids. I've got 2 kids. That's why I'm always replaying this for my kids. Like, oh my God, when they're big, how can I, this is a topic for a different day. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, the little story time video. I will go on with my vacation. You can see I'm in a swimsuit, so I'm probably going straight back to the pool once the sun is gone. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.